I want you to stay behind. Come over here. He handed me a poetry book, and there was an old poem in it that many of you may know, Casey at the Bat. Remember that old poem? The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Munville Nine that day. It's about a guy that strikes out. He said, I want you to go to the back of the room, and I want you to read that poem with all the energy and all the expression you could muster. Guy down said, I went to the back of the room, and I read that poem with all the enthusiasm and energy that I could muster. I did it as expressively as I could. When I finished it, he just sat there, staring at me. It seemed like such a long time. He said nothing. And then he pointed at me and he said, Guy Gal, I knew it. You are a poet. Tears began to run down my cheeks. I hurried out of the classroom. I leaned against the wall because my knees were weak. And I remember saying out loud, when I grow up, I'm going to be an English teacher. A boy whose life was changed because of the concern of a teacher. Well, there they are. Your job is to not only listen to the things that people have experienced in their past, but to give them an image of what they could do and what they can do in the future. It's most important. That's what makes Christian counseling different. We're not afraid to be directive. We're not afraid to ask the question, well, what are you going to do now? Where did you go from here? What kind of commitments are you going to make to the future? And the kid says, I have no gifts. I'm not like other people. I'm a failure. I can't do anything. I got so many limitations. I always had a standard story for kids who told me that. I said, a friend of mine who's a pastor of First Presbyterian Church in Honolulu had a kid in his church who was in a terrible automobile accident, lost his left arm. He was so depressed, so depressed. His father would do anything to lift the depression. One day the kid said, you know, what I'd like to do is take judo lessons. You can do judo with one arm. I want to do that. So they got him a judo sensei, a teacher. And the first month they learned the basic moves of judo. And then after that, the sensei focused on one move, hour after hour, day after day, for another 2 months, working on just this one move till he had it down perfect. And then the sensei said, we're going to a tournament. Kid said, I've only been taking judo for 3 months. I only have one arm. We're going to a tournament. They go through the first round, the second round, the third round, the fourth round. They get up to the final for the state championship. He can't believe what's happening. He goes in. He wins. He's stunned. On the way home, he says, I don't understand what happened. I've only been taking judo for 3 months. I only know one good move. And I just won the state championship. How is that possible, Sensei? And the Sensei said, you won for 2 reasons. The first, the one move you do know is the most effective move in all of judo. The second reason why you won is the only defense against that move is to grab your opponent's left arm. And so when they tell you about their weaknesses and their shortcomings, you need to point out that the scripture says, in your weaknesses is my strength. I'm able to do more through you because you have weaknesses than if you thought you had it all together and had no problems. So there it is. You've got your work cut out for you. And I'm hopeful that you, the people who are here today, when you fill out that little card, and they're going to talk about that a little later, aren't you? Aren't you? Yeah. And you guys need a little more enthusiasm. You know, these are people who have got money. And your job is to lock the door and not let them out. I mean, seriously. We want you to be cheerful givers. Giving out of concern. Giving because you believe that the day is coming. For people who are steeped in the Bible, to do the kind of counseling that will express the concern, the concentration, the commitment that Jesus empowers us to express. In 1968, a film was produced called The Seventh Seal by Bergman. It was built around a medieval knight playing a game of chess with the Prince of Darkness. All through the film, the Prince of Darkness and the knight, the medieval knight, are making moves on each other. And as the movie comes to an end, the Prince of Darkness makes a move and says, "Checkmate!" And the curtain comes down. Young Bobby Fischer, who had just won the world's championship in chess, was sitting there in the audience, and his friend reported later that Bobby turned to me and said, "I can't believe that guy's given up. I can't believe the knight feels he's defeated. It's obvious. The king can make a move that will turn this whole thing around. The king has one more move." When that marriage comes and it's falling apart, and they say, "We're trapped. There's no place for us to go." The king has one more move. When that child has messed up his or her life, and you think that there's no future, I got great news. The king has one more move. And when you, as you struggle with the problems in your own life, and sometimes feel like there's no way out, let me break it to you. Bobby Fischer was right. The king has... You didn't sound like Pentecostals on that. One last shot. The king has one more move. God bless you.
We're just very grateful that he was willing to come up to Philadelphia with his wife. Thank you for both being here very, very much. Michael and I were talking this afternoon that Tony Campolo is who we want to be when we're 80, except for being bald. But I just looked at it.
I'm not bald. This is the solar panel for a sex machine.
Just looking at our time, and we do want to keep things moving because we want to honor your time tonight. We know that many of you sacrifice an evening to come out and be babysitters and travel far distances. There's two things that we really wanted to show you tonight. One of which is we've had a video created for us by a team of leaders in Harrisburg. We were selected one of 5 local nonprofits to have a group of leaders kind of rally around our vision and help us in a way that we couldn't. Michael and I said all along, we can only listen well, and there's certain gifts that we just don't have, and so creating a video is just something that we could never do unless a team of leaders kind of rallied around us. And so we have a video that we'd like to show tonight. It's about 8 minutes.